How's everyone doing? It's been a minute since I've uploaded a video. I know Mystic Mindburn won a YCS with 456 participants, so, apples, oranges, whatever. But it still did ruin what seemed like such a fun format, besides, Dimension Shifter, Exosister, or Flundery still being a deck. Mystic Mind has prevailed in showing that it wins YCSs. It's a broken ass floodgate, and you can't be too ill prepared. And even Euronats really revealed that, right? I did a whole video going over all that, but there wasn't audio, and I feel like the time has passed to where I should just talk about the next thing, which is Runix, Rundix, Runix, Rundix, Rundix. I don't know the pronunciation, and I know people always got mad at me for that. So I think it's a really cool archetype, though. It reminds me of those the Cold Light Seer Hearthstone days, or Sky Strikers, or even Spellbooks, or Durant Mill in Pokemon. Just because it banishes the top four cards of your deck face down. That's the MST, but all of them banish some amount of cards face down, which is really cool because it's ignorant. Especially when there's a card called Mystic Mine that is at 8 copies with 3 Demise of the Land, Terraforming, Metaverse. That, if you banish their one Harpy's Feather Duster, their one Galaxy Cyclone, it's a GG. The game's over. So this is definitely a problem. It's definitely going to come up in Niagara. Now, also, if you're a returning player, I think this deck's really cool because you can really feel that demise of Yu-Gi-Oh! When you go to your locals playing with these cards. They're relatively cheap, because you will literally put any floodgate that is your favorite anti-spell. Well, no, you will not use that one, because that one will be sided against you, and has been coming up a lot more because of Mystic Mind. But you will side in there can only be one rivalry, goes in really whatever floodgate you want. Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, probably not because of the quick play spells, but Dimensional Fissure. And you'll have some success. Because Mystic Mind, you'll have 8 of those. That's pretty much all you need. You can run cards like Pot of Extravagance. What's the likelihood you're going to banish all 3 copies of your fusion? Because your extra deck's not even that tight, because you're probably only running 9 fusions that matter. Now, obviously, there's some problems with this deck, and I think it'll be coming to a regional near you. I think it'll be played at YCS Niagara, even those people that maybe want to just copy the Mystic Mind burn for like lulz will be just playing this deck instead, because it's actually probably a lot better at doing what the other deck does, right? And I'll get into a little comparisons between the two. So now let's get into a quick rundown of what the deck plays. This deck is 13 cards, or the archetype. There's one OCG card that is not released yet, another fusion monster, 8 quick play spells, 1 continuous spell, 1 field spell, and 3 fusion deck monsters. We'll go over the fusion deck monsters first, because I feel like they are core components to what the deck is. Now, we have Hugin, the Runic Wings. If this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can discard 1 card, add 1 Runic field spell from your deck to your hand. There is only one that exists. If another card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect or battle, return this card to the extra deck. Now, that second effect is actually pretty impactful. Obviously, this is one of the cards we summon most from the extra deck, because it adds the field spell, which is the best card in the deck, or at least my favorite card in the deck. Now, the second effect is really cool, because if your opponent goes Harpy Feather Duster, you chain one of your quick play spells, summon this guy, you can use the second effect to protect your stuff. Reason being, it's a continuous effect. It's not an activated one, so it, won't miss timing. Now we got the second, which is what I would say the second best fusion monster, Munin, the Runic Wings. If this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can discard 1 card, add 1 Runic continuous spell from your deck to your hand. Only have 1 of those as well, Runic Allure. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Runic card you control, or set cards you control, quick effect, you can banish this card you control, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy this card. So that is a quick effect. It's not going to work the same way as the other one I just mentioned. So that's good to know, but that effect could come up. Once per turn during the end phase, gain 1,000 life points. Something you wouldn't think matters, but when we get to tournament, when we get this deck out of the DB phase, that's definitely going to come up, and we're going to rush to the end phase as soon as we special summon this. I think we can activate the quick play spells in the end phase. So that will be a time-reliant component to this deck that is very good, especially with Mystic Mine. I don't even gotta deck you out. We could the whole game one could run 40 minutes. I'm just gonna gain 1,000 life points during the end phase, and that's game, right? I don't know how realistic that is, but it's a hypothetical you don't want to happen to you, right? Now, Gary the Runic Fangs is a pretty interesting card. It's one of the least summoned cards of the archetype. You usually are adding Fountain or Allure, usually Fountain, because it cannot add a quick play spell. And as an additional effect, when this card is destroyed by battle, you can target one card on the field. Now for the spells, we'll do the field spell first, Runic Fountain. You can activate Runic quick play spell cards from your hand during your opponent's turn. Pretty powerful, right? Once per turn, if you activate a Runic quick play spell card, you can target up to 3 Runic quick play spells in your graveyard, place them on the bottom of your deck in any order, then draw the same number of cards. Now that is not a once per turn effect, so this bad boy could actually draw up to 9 cards, which is one reason I was actually so interested in the deck at first viewing. Now we also have another card, Runic Allure. Now, Runic Allure is not a card that I would expect to be played in this deck. I thought, at first glance, it's not even that good. But, the Fusion Monster can add it, so it's probably not as bad as Brand Lost, which was, just such a nag and value card when I first read it, and that was played. So, we're going to run it. It just banishes an additional card. Each time a quick play spell card activates, banish the top card of your opponent's deck, so even your opponent's quick play spell cards. Imagine a mirror with this. And you can only control 1 Runic Allure, so if you run 3, you can only play 1. Now, Runic Tip is the first quick play spell we'll go over. Now, keep in mind, all of these quick play spell cards have the same second effect. I won't be reading every single one, but they just special summon 1 Runic monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. Now, they also have the first line of text, which is activate one of these effects, but skip your next battle phase after activation. The real kicker to the deck, why you wouldn't want to play it, right? Because that's the restriction. You can't have your next battle phase. But, starting off with the first quick play spell, Runic Tip. Add 1 Runic card from your deck to your hand, except Runic Tip, then banish the top card of your opponent's deck. So it only banishes 1, but you get a free card. Who doesn't love that? This is fodder, necessary. By the way, this is one of 2 CRs. The field spell is also CR. So if you want to invest in this deck, that's something to note. Runic Destruction. So going over some of the interruptions. Target 1 spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy it, then banish the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. Banishes the most out of any of the cards, besides one that kind of works like Secret Barrel, which I thought was really cool. Now there's Runic Flashing Fire. Target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it, then banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Pretty powerful first effect. Doesn't banish that many cards, but I think it's necessary just as many of these are. Runic Freezing Curses. Target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of this turn. Banish 3 cards from your opponent's deck. Pretty good. And then Runic Smiting Storm. So this was the Secret Barrel-esque card that I remember. Banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck up to the number of cards they control. So if they got like 10 cards, banish 10 cards, you're probably likely to desires your opponent if they overextend too much game 1, not knowing what you're playing. Pretty insane. If you combo with like a card like Dark Ruler, I don't know. Could be kind of nuts. So ignorant. Now we got Runic Golden Droplet. Your opponent draws 1 card, then you can banish the top 4 cards of your deck. Now, like I said, the win condition in this deck, besides Mystic Mine, is just your opponent draws a card with no cards in deck, they lose. Runic Slumber. So, and, even just for the second effect, you could run any of these just so you can, just activate the second effect if it's not good enough. Because, they're all also once per turn. And you only get, you can only activate them once per turn. So you can only activate once per turn. Runic Slumber. Target 1 face-up monster on the field. The next time that monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. Also, it cannot attack this turn. Then, after applying this effect, banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So, pretty good. Probably my least favorite out of all of them, besides this next one, Runic Dispelling. If your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase, discard 1 random card from their hand, then banish the top 2 cards of the deck. That one just gets a little too gimmicky for me. This is already a gimmicky-ass deck, but that one takes the cake. Now, although I have seen the most ignorant versions of this deck be the ones playing Dimensional Fissure, There Can Only Be One, Rivalry, just pure, I'm going to mill you with Mystic Mine, and you're not going to do anything about it. There's also been builds playing it with like cards like Eldritch, or Tear Elements, or Sprite. And I just think that this archetype overall has kind of been one of the most interesting additions. Now, although I say that right now, I do think this is just like going to be one of the most annoying things to play against, and that it's just going to make you hate your life, and that I'm just going to like even regret like giving info about it, because it's just such a problem to me for the pure fact that you're just going to randomly get your 4 cards banished, you know. And with, at risk of saying that though, I do know that Desires is at 2, and that card banished the top 10 cards of your deck face down. And, you know, everyone was playing that, right? So, really, how big of an impact is just having your engine banished? Especially when, you know, we even see greats like Patrick Hoban playing over 40 cards. You know, something I thought I'd never see. And that it's just actually becoming meta to play, you know, over 50 cards, 60 cards, the actual 60 cards, because there's just so many good ones. If I play more good cards, you know, I'm going to actually see them. If I play 3 Galaxy Cyclones, like, nice Mystic Mine, bro, I'm probably going to destroy it and then OTK you. So, just something to consider. Although I do think this deck's, like, a little under the radar right now, and probably is just going to see more and more play. Except if people play cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance, because, you know, that's a real deterrent to something like this. But it's really interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, the little analysis of the deck. If you want me to go over any of these matches in full, I can do that. I just don't know how interesting it's going to be to see these Mystic Mine decks play out, you know. So that's a little sad. But like I said, this is cool archetype to change the dynamics of Yu-Gi-Oh! And just add a little gimmick like, you know, card games like Magic and Pokemon. So I think it's kind of cool. I might get a little returning player base, but beyond that, I don't really know how to feel about it. What'd you guys think of the video? Let me know. Subscribe, like. I appreciate it so much. Have a good one.